Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is the 27th of February, 2021. Coming up the podcast, the choke, the woke, and the broke. All that and more. Stick around.
Hit it, sweetheart. Because I am hard, you will not like me.
Yes, sir.
There is no racial bigotry here. Here you are all equally worthless.
From Western Canada, this is the Crusty Canuck podcast, a Canadian veteran's point of view on political, social, economic issues and life. Here's Crusty.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Here I am. Yes, the choke, woke, and broke. I guess news headlines the past few days have been very, very particular in above statements. Yes, a Canadian Tire customer being choked by 4 employees, I believe in Burnaby, BC. If I stand correct, it might be Burnaby or Surrey, BC. Nonetheless, there was a customer minding his own damn business, refused to wear a mask, and he ends up being apprehended and choked like a goddamn dog in the store for people to see. And I'm sure a lot of my viewers and listeners alike have seen this on Facebook and other feeds. Now, I know Dan Dix is going to be doing a story on this, the guy from Press for Truth, another man that has been or tried to be canceled in the light of all this woke bullshit. But I'll leave links in the description and all that for you too to look for yourselves. Yes, there was a customer in BC at a Canadian Tire store that was apprehended and basically choked to the floor and handcuffed by employees of said store. Now, I'm a trained security guard. I've had security training. I've had military training in regards to apprehending said individual or a individual that tends to be a threat and detaining them accordingly and properly, all in the name of safety, right? But when I did it, I was a soldier. I wasn't a police officer, and I wasn't a security guard at the time. Now, I've had security training where you learn how to apply handcuffs accordingly, but as a security guard, you have to witness someone committing a crime. You have to witness someone in the act before you arrest them for shoplifting or destruction of property or trespassing, what have you. Now, when I saw that video, I basically looked at this individual thinking, okay, yeah, he might have been belligerent and didn't want to wear a mask, and rightfully so. I've said before in this show numerous times, if you want to wear a mask, wear a mask. If not, then that's fine too, because I'm getting so sick and tired of this politically correct nonsense and all this Carls and Karens sitting there and trying to get people in trouble for the so-called greater good or for the sake of this issue with the COVID. And it's really starting to hurt a lot of people, and hurting people now to a point where it's not just a financial crisis or people are inconvenienced. People are literally falling under the guise of depression, and their mental welfare is being compromised as we speak. So, ladies and gentlemen, I highly suggest watch this video with an open mind, of course, and decide for yourself. But I can guarantee that maybe 99.9% of you might agree with me on this, that these individuals, employees, were way the fuck out of hand. And it's funny, too, because I was actually at Canadian Tire today picking up some cleaner and stuff, for cleaning. Not for anything else but cleaning, But I've been trying to have a conversation with the cashier there. And I looked at her and I said, "You're not going to choke me out, are you?" And she looks at me like I've got 3 different heads on. And I said, "What, you haven't seen the video online or anything like that?" She said, "Well, no, I haven't." You haven't seen the video where, an employee of Canadian Tire or employees of Canadian Tire have choked out a customer for not wearing a mask? No, I never heard anything about that at all. Now, I'm not blaming her. I'm not blaming that store per se. I'm not blaming anybody. But it's been online now for a few days, and I'm a little surprised how it hasn't really gotten out there. But it just gives me something to think about, too. It gives me something to think about, and I hope my listeners out there, you think about it as well, too. I'll leave links in the description, as always, too. And I don't know. I keep shaking my head, and I'm worried. I'm a little concerned for the welfare of other customers out there who go to other stores and mind their business and they refuse to wear a mask. I wonder if you're going to have the same problem, let's say, in a No Frills or, or a Walmart. You're going to be apprehended by somebody at Walmart and be arrested to the floor, treated like a dog. Tell me what you think. CrustyBCanuck67 at gmail.com. Let me know how you feel, and don't know if I said this before, but listener discretion is advised. I like to drop the odd F-bomb and C-bomb on this program, but that does not thwart me from the topics at hand, getting the words out there and the opinions out there so you, my listeners, can discuss. And a special thank you, again, to everybody who came out to my Thursday Fastball live stream where I had Gilles Gilbert there, or Gilles Gilbert, the public relations officer of the Veterans Coalition Party. We had a great discussion, had some nice questions from the audience too, so please, thank you. My total gratitude for the overwhelming support I've had every time I do these live streams. And like I say, every Thursday at 4 o'clock, 4 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, you'll see me live on YouTube and Facebook, where I do the Crusty Canuck Thursday Fastball. I'll have a guest on, and I'm working on some special guests as we speak. I'm not going to give the surprise away, but I have something big in the works. I don't have next week's guest just of yet. I should be getting confirmation on that either today or tomorrow. So please pay attention to my community page on YouTube and my Facebook page under Crusty Canuck. And stay updated on what's going on with the Crusty Canuck podcast. And if you like and hear what you see, ladies and gentlemen, please click the notification bell on the YouTube page. Let you know when new content's coming your way. Don't forget to click like, share, and subscribe, and pass the words around, especially all my media outlets, too. There'll be information on that coming up shortly. And there's one more day left to the 20% off on my Customized Girl kit there. Go to customizedgirl.com, look out for Crusty Canuck, and use the code PWSS to get yourself 20% off on any of the Crusty Canuck items. I got T-shirts, I got hats, I got swimsuits, I got underwear, mugs, stickers, magnets, and other items to your choosing. Support the Crusty Canuck podcast today by going to customizedgirl.com. Anyway, carrying on more with the choke, the woke, and the broke, yes. And, of course, more fucking headlines in regards to Coca-Cola's ridiculous mandate of diversity training when it's telling people not to be white or to be less white. And, again, I will reiterate the whole thing. With all this panic and choking and apprehension going on, there's still powers that be that want to tell people how to think and how to walk and how to talk. Now, I don't know about you. You know, I guess it's safe to assume that the majority of us here in Canada were raised in households where you don't judge people on the color of their skin. And frankly, I'm really getting sick and tired of having to talk about, ladies and gentlemen, but it seems like it's a topic that keeps rearing its fucking ugly head over and over again, like a bad habit, you know, like a fat kid in a Smartie or white on rice or whatever analogy you want to use. It's lingering, and it's constantly brought and thrown in our faces by mainstream media and, of course, our politicians, right? Even Potato Puppet there, Mr. Potato Sock Boy, Justin Trudeau and his infinite wisdom, telling us again one more time, we have systemic racism in the Canadian government. And I'll remind you, my listeners and viewers alike too, every time you watch the CPAC channel, Canada's public access channel, or any kind of question period, doesn't matter if it's CBC puts it on or CTV or Global, whatever, really take a look at everyone in the room, okay? Or everyone speaking via internet or whatever, You see an overwhelming amount of diversity right there and there. Right then and there you see varieties of people. Some are Asian, some are East Indian, some are black, some are white, some are First Nations. Some have traditional European descent, some don't. Some have some great educational background, some don't. But in the same sense, when I look at our parliamentary system, in regards of how many horns that the so-called left and woke agendas have promoted, there's still quite a bit of diverse ideas that are sitting there that are not being promoted per se. So when someone says to you that, the system is systemic and we're all this and we're all that, bullshit, right? Bullshit. Right? It's just, I shake my head, honestly. I really don't get how a lot of these clowns are sitting there saying the system is so racist and so rigged, and yet they're sitting in Parliament with virtue points of grandeur, telling us how to think and what to do, and they make the big bucks while everyone else is struggling to keep their businesses open, right? So don't buy the racism hype, ladies and gentlemen. I think we're better than, I know Canadians personally that are far fucking better than that, and they're not white either, if you want to get technical, I've worked with a variety of people all my life. I've worked with numerous people of different origins and different backgrounds and different sexual identities too. So it didn't bother me if anyone was gay or straight or bi or tri or however they identified. A few months back, I had a great conversation with Cousin Elle. She has a page on YouTube as well. I'll leave a link to her work as well. And she's trans. And I had no problem having a conversation with her whatsoever. Didn't faze me at all. We had a good talk about politics and the social structures that go on in this country. And like I said, I'll leave a link in my description to her work as well. Fantastic human being, ladies and gentlemen. And it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what color or creed or whatever background, how you identify. It's a matter of common sense and a matter of doing what's right for the Canadian people, you know, and what Americans should do for the American people, and what Brits should do for Britain, and Germans for Germany, and every working democracy thereof, right? Every working democracy. But we're not seeing that, especially here in the Great North. We're not seeing that. We're seeing complacency. We're seeing misspending. You know, Miss Barbie the Builder now, Miss Infrastructure, Catherine McKenna, you know, still not answering questions in regards to the amount of $35 billion not being used in infrastructure, and the word salads and the banter she had back with Andrew Scheer. And I'll leave a link to that too for you to decide. But I don't know what's going on, folks. I really don't know what's going on other than something's happening. Something big is in the works. But anyway, here's a word from my sponsors.
This is Brian Boucher, the new CEO of Canuck Gold Corp. We have gold at 99% purity with discounts ranging from $100 up to $200 off the ounce. This is the right place to buy, from 2-gram cards to 400-ounce bricks. We have any quantity of gold you are looking for. We also sell by the ton, not like your ex-wife. Visit us today at canudgold.com, C-A-N-U-N-D gold.com.
In October of 2015, Lindsay Robbins, like many of her fellow Canadians, was struggling with the turmoil of mental illness. The ups and downs of what she was going through was shaping her realities, and she longed for structure. As luck would have it, that structure presented itself to her in the form of gardening. And through gardening, Lindsay had an awakening that led her to create Produce for Heroes. Lindsay realized that our veterans were going through their own mental struggles, and through her own experience, she realized the power of community. By desiring to help the ways that she had been helped, she has created a program that provides relief to veterans. Her food program, which aims to provide veterans and their families relief from the stresses of food insecurity and help alleviate the cost of living for those that have sacrificed so much for their country. Whether it's through directly contacting Produce for Heroes or through a friend's referral, all veterans and their families living in Canada are welcome. By shining a light on the struggle of veterans and their families, Lindsay is hoping to get her fellow Canadians to hop on board and support Produce for Heroes and our great veterans. If you or a veteran you know needs help, ProduceForHeroes.com is a great place to start.
Stay updated and follow Crusty Canuck on Facebook, Twitter, Gab, Telegram, YouTube, and Podbean. Subscribe today and donate at crustycanuck.ca.
Well, that's right. You can find Brian and Scott at Canuck Gold and contact Lindsay at Produce for Heroes. Links will be in the description there, too. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, carrying on with more of the choke, woke, and broke. So to all the woke people out there, to all the cancel culture wannabes, and to all the Rears and the Carls and the Karens, here's some questions for you. Do you not think there's going to be any repercussions based on your actions? Okay. Do you not fucking think for one goddamn minute, every time that you tattle on someone for not social distancing, every time you give someone a hard time for not wearing a mask, and now because of Bill C-21 and C-22 in Canada, with the whole gun debacle, what do you think the repercussions are if you're going to tattle on your neighbor because you don't agree with him or her having firearms? Right? Do you remember when we were kids that when you tattle on people, you know, things would happen to you? Now, I'm not saying you always got beat up or you always got harassed or you got in trouble, but, you know, when you tattle on somebody over something that's not really going to affect your personal welfare, right? Just because you know someone has a gun, that doesn't mean they're a criminal, right? That's like assuming that you know someone who has a Corvette. Does that mean he likes to speed or she likes to speed? Someone drives a big Dodge truck. Does that mean they're nothing but a fat pig and they're trying to accommodate for their small penis, as the running joke goes? Well, no. I know lots of guys with big trucks, but I really don't give a fuck what the size of their penis is. but I think you see my point. Right? So when you tattle and rat on people, do you think you're really doing something good and courageous? And it doesn't matter if you're sitting there with your cell phone or online, or if you're passing notes in class or passing notes at work. Do you honestly think you're doing something that's beneficial and that's going to make you feel good by doing your part? Hey? Like, if you see someone breaking into a vehicle, yeah, fucking rat them out. Call them on it. Call the cops. If you see somebody doing something illegal with a firearm, like pointing it at someone and threatening to kill them, yeah, call them out. Rat them out. But if you see someone walking into the store, they don't have a mask on, so fucking what? You know, you see a guy coming home from work one day or coming from hunting, and he brings out his gun case and walks into his home, so what? Right? Like, fuck people, we're better than that. And still, there's information out there for you to find where you can call whatever 1-800 number, 800 number to any health service to say, excuse me, I've seen people without their mask. I've also seen people not social distancing. I've seen people standing around holding hands. My neighbor, we had an argument the other day, and, he's got a couple of rifles. I'm not too sure for my safety. Really. And do you not think that kind of bullshit later on down the road might have its repercussions? Honestly, do you not think that by you ratting people out, people who are just caring about their business, it's not going to affect you some way or the other? Who's to say one day you're going to knock on the door, you answer it, and someone just holds off and cold cocks you right in the jaw? Or then someone turns around and damages your property. Well, do you not think that might happen? Especially this day and age now, too, where you have an opioid crisis going on here in Western Canada, where a lot of people are getting sick and a lot of people are dying. And I hate to say it, but it's a lot of people under the age of 25, too, that can't cope with all this fucking stress and shit going around. It isn't fair. And do you think by ratting people out, that's going to help? You're just adding more fuel to the fire, ladies and gentlemen. You're letting these overseers, these so-called know-it-alls, take control. So I highly suggest that anybody there who gets the urge to tattle on someone because you're so woke and so in tune, think about what you're doing before you dial that 1-800 number, or before you dial any number, for that matter, to rat someone for not wearing a mask or social distancing, or for a hunter or a shooter, or anybody, for that matter, minding their own goddamn business, right? Right? I'm a gun owner. You want to rat me out? Fine. Go right ahead. I've actually showed my collection to an RCMP officer, and he is well aware of what's going on. And guess what? He's not even a gun owner himself, but he knows, because I tell him. I let him know. I keep him updated. So that way, if there's any political bullshit or any legal bullshit, he might give me a heads up, right? He might let me know what's going on. And I'm a vocal member of the gun community in this area, too. So I try to be as thorough and honest as possible. And I have had emails recently of people letting me know what's going on, right? But I wear a mask in the store, though, ladies and gentlemen, so you can't give me shit for that. I do it because I just don't want any more goddamn bullshit. I get tired of it. I just want to go to the store, mind my business, get the stuff I need, and carry on. And luckily, where I am here in Canada, we're not being told what we can buy and not buy, thankfully, right? But which brings me to the Freedom Rally they had last week in Alberta. I kind of wish I was there. Or correction, in Edmonton. Yes, it was in Alberta, but it was in Edmonton. Finances were a little tight, but needless to say, there were a lot of fucking know-it-alls weighing in and pulling the old racist card. And I mentioned this briefly in my last episode, too. I've actually had some interesting exchanges with people online in regards to this, too, right? People trying to prove me that the actual meaning of a tiki torch is a white supremacy tool. I guess they're basing this on what happened in Charlotte a few years back, because I guess a couple of known racists had some fucking tiki torches. And my statement to this individual, I just more or less told her, it's like, fuck, you can go buy a tiki torch at any Canadian Tire, no pun intended, in case you get choked out, any gardening store, any hardware store, because, they're a nice aesthetic piece of hardware, to say the least, you can use in your yard during the summer months, right? Actually, I had one tiki torch there at one time, too, but I was never called a racist for it. I just never used it, so I gave it to a neighbor. Didn't make him racist either for taking it. So, needless to say, it just goes to show the amount of bullshit that people are going to promote, to promote any kind of narrative when it comes to a Freedom March, right? And I know a few individuals that are at that Freedom March, too. 2 of them are Filipino. 1 was Jamaican and 1 was from Brazil. So if it was a white supremacist gathering, okay, if it was a white supremacist gathering, I doubt those friends I mentioned would be there. But I got an interesting little story here. It came from Motley Notley, Alberta's ex-premier of the NDP brand. And I'll read that to you, ladies and gentlemen. Just hang on for a sec here. Now, this came from Rachel Notley last week on her Twitter feed. And she says, "Today outside of the federal building, we saw people gather under the guise of protesting COVID-19 measures. Many in attendance, then lit torches and proceeded to march around downtown Edmonton. These marches are intended to intimidate. They intend to spread hate. This wasn't about COVID-19. Demonstrations of white nationalism are a real threat, and we must confront the threat. Recently, we have seen multiple attacks on black Muslim women in Edmonton. We must continue to speak out. No racialized person should feel unsafe in our community. We must strengthen our resolve to do more to fight back against racism. We simply can't allow what happened today to stand." So people gathering, freedom of association, freedom of expression, and freedom to want to have freedom. That's a bad thing, Miss Notley. See, it's amazing how you take a few situations that happen in the city and turn it around into some kind of fucking bullshit racist agenda. Okay, well, all I'm going to say to you, Miss Notley, is go fuck your hat. Sorry, lady, you had your chance as premier of this province, and you blew it. Okay? And don't talk to me about trust funds. Don't talk to me about what kind of kitty was here or how much money was here, how much spent, because it doesn't matter what politician you are. It doesn't matter what kind of leader you are. All right? There's always money being spent one way or the other. Okay? You spent money for bad things, socializing everything, trying to make people pay their fair share when we don't really see you pay your fucking fair share, lady. Okay? Which also brings me another point, too, that Janice Irwin, a MLA, from whatever riding, I got it right here, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, she comes from the Edmonton Highlands Norwood riding. Now, according to mainstream media, there was someone defaced her window at her office there. And I'll leave a link in the description for you to look at there, ladies and gentlemen. But at her riding office, someone spray painted Antifa liar. Now, pay attention to the story I'm going to read you here. This is from the Edmonton Journal. Okay, an Edmonton-based NDP MLA's constituency office was vandalized over the weekend with Antifa and liar painted in large red letters on the front window. Janice Irwin, the MLA for Edmonton Highlands Norwood, tweeted a photo of her office along 112 Avenue Saturday morning. Graffiti scrawled across the window. Now, pay attention. This is what she says. Okay. "Good morning to everyone who continues to denounce racism and white supremacy. No matter how angry or uncomfortable it makes some people," Irwin said in her tweet, which was garnered almost 3,800 I can't speak English today. 3,800 likes. Okay, Irwin later tweeted that she was blown away by the support from the community and a constituent of hers that helped clean off the graffiti. Premier Jason Kenney later tweeted that condemned the vandalism. That's understandable. Yeah, it's not right to vandalize anyone's property. But when I'm looking at this picture, it says Antifa liar on it. It doesn't say anything derogatory about color of her skin, her gender, her identity, her orientation. It just says Antifa liar. And her response to that was denouncing racism and white supremacy. It's not hard to figure out, folks. And like I say all the time, crack doesn't smoke itself. So another disingenuous politician trying to ride the coattails of gaslighting and other ghost hunters out there. So I'll leave a link in the description for you to decide, ladies and gentlemen, for yourselves. But it just goes to prove how disingenuous some of these leaders are when it comes to cancel culture. Now, if the NDP was smart, they'd understand that they should be looking after people and not their ideologues and not their identities. Right? That's what I understood what the NDP stood for when it first came around in the late 1940s and early 50s, or when it actually evolved into the New Democrat Party. But then again, the past 10 years, I haven't seen a decent leader out of that party, with the exception of Jack Layton, which had something to say. But he, too, had his flaws when it came to military diplomacy and understanding that there's more to peacekeeping than just wearing a blue beret and stand there looking pretty. But I'll leave that for another story. But when I see these clowns talk about how it's always racist and white nationalist when people speak up and speak their minds, then they're really not in tune. Because like I said, there's a few people that I know that are visible minorities that were at that rally. And if they thought it was nothing but bigoted and racist, they would have told me so. And or they wouldn't have gone. So we got to watch these clowns with a fine-tooth comb, and we have to call them on their bullshit too. I would love to send an email to these two ladies and tell them just to smarten the hell up. But they'd probably call me some kind of racist or misogynist. Oh my God, you're so sexist. How dare you speak to me that way? You know, I'll probably be compared to Doug Ford with his chalkboard comment, the big press conference. Oh my God, a strange white male wrote me an email and he said something terrible to me. He must be a misogynist. Oh my goodness. Yeah, you never know with these clowns, right? They're always pulling the old virtue thing, because the same thing happened to Miss McKenna there last election. Someone dropped the old "see you next Thursday" bomb on her window. And she, too, talked about misogyny and sexism and all this crap. And no, I don't think it was misogynist to be called a name. It's about doing your job, right? And lately, she's also been called out in her lackluster efforts in regards to spending money on infrastructure projects. But like every other liberal the past 5 years, giving a word salad as a response, right? Word salad's where it's at, kids, you know. Chocolate cake, tossed salads, here we go.
Stay updated and follow Crusty Canuck on Facebook, Twitter, Gab, Telegram, YouTube, and Podbean. Subscribe today and donate at crustycanuck.ca.
Now we come to the part of the show, ladies and gentlemen, where I talk about the broke. Okay? Now, I'm not being light, and I'm not trying to condone people losing their jobs, having their businesses closed up, and being treated like absolute garbage by the federal government, with more taxes and taxes and taxes and taxes and regulation, and for what? Okay? I've had some good conversations lately online with people in regards to their genuine fears and how they want to cope, and asking me for my guidance and advice. And the best thing I can do is, ladies and gentlemen, is that we have to persevere through this. Now, my wife and I, we've minded our pennies. You know, I've had to dip into my savings now, which is kind of hurtful, because I had plans for that money. But, you know, it's keeping the lights on, it's keeping things going. You know, the savings aren't obliterated, thankfully, you know. But of course, you know, we've got some taxes to pay, and we try to keep our head above water, and I think we're doing okay. And there's a lot of family and friends out there that are doing the same thing. But the people out there that have tried to save and try to get things on the go, that's where I really, really feel bad for, because they're business owners. They got families to feed, and they've got things to do, and they try to make payroll, and they try to keep things going. And I can see why people are leading themselves down a darkened path. And all I can say is that we have to persevere to the best of our ability, regardless of what business you're running, or who you voted for, or who's in your constituency, or who's your MP, who's your MLA, who's your MPP. It doesn't matter. We got to work together on this. You know, when the politicians sit there and say, "Oh, we're in this together." Well, okay, yeah, we are. Unfortunately, where the fuck are you guys? Where are these leaders helping out their communities? Okay? Where are these leaders coming up with these viable suggestions and these viable solutions to said problems? No, they keep squandering back and forth, worrying about statements like fingers on a chalkboard, or spray painting Antifa on a window, calling it racist, when someone's just calling out your bullshit and maybe your guilt of association with said fucking conglomerate, right? We're not finding our leaders saying what they should be saying. We're not finding our leaders speaking their minds properly. And I kind of wish I would hear a few more F-bombs in Parliament. That would be fantastic. I wish we actually had a politician that could stand up in Parliament and say, no, fuck you, you're wrong. I wish we had someone in Parliament to stand up and say to the opposition, right, or to the Bloc, or the Conservatives, or the NDP, or Independents, and say, no, lady, no, guy, you're fucking way out of her. You're right the fuck out of her. Right? I don't give a fuck if it's parliamentary language or not. I'm sure Her Majesty the Queen would like to hear something like that. That might just rock her world while she's sitting having her gin and tea on a sunny English afternoon, watching some satellite feed in Canadian Parliament, while someone stands up and says, no, go fuck your hat. That would be priceless. Right? To my listeners out there in the Battle River, Crowfoot riding, I myself, Crusty Canuck, John Irwin, is willing to take the reins and run under the VCP banner in the next federal election, ladies and gentlemen. So anybody that's in eastern Alberta, that's in the above riding, the Blackfoot Battle River area, I would like to represent you in Parliament. I would like to do my best for you in Parliament. I want to ask the tough questions. I want to debate. And literally, I will roll my sleeves up, and not for some kind of commercial or for some kind of frickin' TikTok page to do a silly dance for you all. No, I want to do the work. I want the job. So that's something to think about, folks. And I'll leave more information in the description on that in the VCP party and the Blackfoot Battle River riding as well. So please let me know. Send me an email. Right? Let me know what you think, because pretty soon I'm going to be hitting the ground, driving around to communities, getting signatures to get my okay to represent you in that constituency. In the world of Canadian politics, because since my time in the military and since I left the military, I am seeing real unfairness, real inequality when it comes to people, and not because of the color or the gender or the spectrums they keep throwing at us through mainstream media to distract us. I'm talking about real inequality where people are working 40 to 60 hours a week and they're getting shafted by more red tape and more taxes. I'm talking about real inequality where people are trying to go to school to get the grade, but they can't do these courses because of this or because of that, because of diversity quotas. Right? I'm seeing inequality when it comes to veterans who have struggled to maintain saneness, and yet they're being told by Veterans Affairs, no, you can't. No, you're not. No, you can't. Especially when those clowns at Veterans Affairs are making anywhere from $65,000 to $70,000 to $80,000 to sit in a cubicle and to tell total strangers that they can't have things. That isn't right. So, to my listeners and to members of the constituency of Blackfoot and Battle River, Crowfoot and Battle River, right? Think about that. I want farmers to get ahead. I want the oil to come back to Alberta. Well, it's already here. I just want to get out to market. I want to see Canadians get ahead. I don't want to hear any more about restaurants closing because of COVID. I don't want to hear any more people being ticketed for not social distancing. I want gun owners to have their guns. I want people to hunt. I want people to fish. And I want people to live their lives by their means. Okay. It also brings me to point, too, that another Liberal has tabled the whole universal basic income. So another government official wanting to promote people relying on the government for everything in their daily lives. How is that going to be beneficial, ladies and gentlemen? Honestly. How is anyone going to benefit from that? By getting a constant handout, what kind of incentive is that for anyone to get out and do something different other than waiting for a glorified welfare check? Right? Brought to you by the Canadian taxpayer and by the people that want to keep printing Canadian money at every beck and call without worrying about inflation or repercussions, like I said before, right? Anyhow, ladies and gentlemen, I have been Crusty Canuck on this beautiful 27th of February, 2021. And seriously, we got to think about the next federal election, who we're going to have in Parliament, to ask the tough questions, and the people we're going to point to say no on our behalf. No to unfairness. No to ridiculous taxes. Yes to getting the debt paid off, but using common sense solutions doing it too. Something to think about, folks. Like I always say, look after your friends and loved ones. Do what you can to help each other out. I know the weather's getting better. Spring is on the way. Right? I know it's only the end of February, but spring is lingering. Things are going to thaw. We'll get our gardens planted and all that good stuff and do what we can to make this year, hopefully, a better year than 2020. But like I say, folks, look after your friends, loved ones. Do what you can to help each other out. And remember, humanity and merit wins the day. Take care, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.
Hit it, sweetheart. Because I am hard, you will not like me. Yes, sir. There is no racial bigotry here. Here you are all equally worthless.
This has been another episode of the Crusty Canuck podcast. Stay sane and thank you for listening. From Western Canada, this is the Crusty Canuck podcast.